Hey writers, so you've done a lot of writing in this course for many different purposes. But we haven't talked much about how writing can be a really powerful tool for thinking. And as you are reading, you can use different forms of annotation and note taking to really help you develop your thinking. And there's many different ways that you can annotate and that you can take notes. As a teacher, you need to be familiar with many different strategies because you are going to try your best to make those different strategies visible to students. Remember, a lot of reading, a lot of writing processes go on in the head and are not visible. So you need to really think about making those processes visible for your students by sort of thinking aloud and demonstrating the different practices that you might do. So I'm just going to talk about one way that you might take notes as you are reading your books. And I'm going to ask you also then to create your own Flipgrid video of a particular strategy you use when reading. So, like a way that you use writing to support your reading. Okay, so I look forward to watching your thinking about your ideas and listening to your ideas. But when I'm reading, this is just one strategy that I use that really helps me when I'm taking notes. I often take notes electronically now, just because I find it useful to move them around and save them. So what I tend to do, I'll start off before I've even read the chapter. So this is chapter one of this book. But before I've even read the chapter, I would type down the name of the chapter, and then I'm going to preview the entire chapter. And I actually type down the headings of the chapter. So I would go through the entire chapter and type down the main headings within that chapter. So I have a document already that has the main headings. And then once I have gone through the entire chapter, I have a list of the different headings that are going to be in that chapter, and I'm going to read through it. And that's going to help me to think about, okay, what are some of the big ideas that this chapter is going to be about? So I'm already kind of activating my prior knowledge and trying to make connections to this chapter before I even begin reading. Then what I typically do is I always really pay attention to the introduction of the chapter because that usually gives you a really strong overview. But I'm going to read each of the sections. So I'll read carefully through a particular section. When I have finished that section, I'm just going to almost like close the book and say to myself, okay, what was that about? Let me see if I can come up with three really, bullet points under that heading that would give me a really good understanding of what was involved in that chapter. So this is kind of if I'm thinking about summarizing the content of the chapter. So it's one strategy that I might use when I'm summarizing. And sometimes, guess what happens? Like I realize, I don't think I was fully paying attention to that chapter or that section. I'm going to need to go back and review it again so that I can be really clear about what those main points were. So that's just one strategy that I use and one way that I use writing when I'm reading to to take notes, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your different strategies. We can all learn from each other.